everyone for joining us for another episode. This is the BackMarkers F1 show. If you're used to watching us at a different location, we talked about this in our previous episode, but we are transitioning into a new little studio setup here, so a lot of this is still, this is our winter testing going on right now.
This is all going to change.
Yeah.
Everything about this is going to change.
Yeah, this is like prefab, before the wind tunnel kind of mock-up.
This is just a sketch.
This is our livery unveiling.
Yeah.
I hope not.
No, I hope not. Jeez, that'd be bad.
So yeah, we're gonna get some nice little F1 decor. Get a nicer table, and of course we'll have more cameras
going,
like what you guys are used to. But same great content. We're doing this because there's a lot of demand for our show. The season is just around the corner, so no matter where we are, we're gonna get these podcasts out to you guys.
It'll be more episodes, more content coming up if we do it this way. With also we'll transition to better quality as well, to the quality you're used to, but we'll get even best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Once the season starts getting going here.
At least with this way, you can tell we're all wearing pants, so not like the other way around.
That's
right?
true.
I'm definitely not wearing pants.
Weird.
Bit weird when we're that close, right?
Yikes, man.
Anyways,
Shorts,
so this is the 2019 season preview podcast. We're already 2 weeks away from Melbourne, from the first race in Australia. We got a lot to cover in this episode, so we're going to try and go through every single team, most of the drivers, and then at the end, we're going to make 3 bold predictions each as to...
Like bold, maybe.
Well, I mean, not too crazy, not
Mine's going to be super out there.
Okay, that's fine. The crazier the better, I guess. I kept mine sort of in the middle of bold /
Tough.
just conservative.
Yeah, they're
conservative
toss-ups.
picks. Yeah,
Easy lay-ins.
but it's something that we didn't kind of do last year because it was our first season, so we were just sort of testing the waters. But and then at the end of the season, we'll go back to this video and we'll see kind of who got things right. So.
I've seen a couple other YouTubers do it. I forget what his channel is called. Very, very good channel. And I wish I could shout it out right now, but I honestly don't remember what it's called. But he did a F1 bingo card last year. He filled out a full bingo card and see if he could get a bingo. And most of them are pretty bold predictions just to see. And they were it was pretty entertaining to watch throughout the season.
I think this is a pretty good season for making predictions, just because there's so many. There's so many sort of things that we don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We got new drivers. We got a couple of new team identities with Alfa Romeo, Racing Point. We've got, obviously, the consistent big teams with Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari. But a lot of drivers changed teams from last season, so there's a lot of things that we're not exactly sure how it's going to shape up for 2019. New regulations, which is a big mix-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to be a good season. So hang on to your hats, folks, because I think we're in for a good one for 2019.
Yeah. Man, who are we leading off with as our...
Well, the first
number
thing,
one team car that...
Should we go with, last to first or first to last?
we could do last to first, mix it up. Well, we'll do actually first to last.
This isn't our prediction on
who's gonna win.
Yeah,
it's just kind of what we have on our...
Just in terms, yeah. The first thing I want is just to sort of break down the schedule for this season. So 21 races, as it was last season. There's no new tracks on the calendar for this season. So last year we had France, which was a new addition.
Yep.
Germany, which came back, but no new tracks for this season. There are going to be only 4 back-to-back weekends. So the first back-to-back weekend is not until June.
Wow.
So and it's France, Austria, which is the first back-to-back.
They're right beside each other, so...
Yeah, so the schedule is France and Austria, no.
Is
in terms of the race or the countries?
The countries.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. My European geography, yikes.
Yeah, they're not close to
No.
each other.
They both have mountains.
I think England's in between them.
French
isn't there?
Alps and the Austrian Alps.
Yes, exactly.
I'll take Canadian geography for 600. Alex.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't learn a lot about European geography. Just, a map. That's all we got as kids.
Yeah, I know it decently well, but...
Russia's very big.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
There's your geography lesson for the day.
Yeah.
So the schedule is a bit more spread out for this season. Like, they have 2 races in March, for example. Even a race at the beginning of December. So they've sort of spread it out a little bit more for this season. The summer break is slightly shortened. Yep.
December
1st.
I mean, it's in Abu Dhabi. You don't really have to worry about snow. So
when was the last late? Was it November?
Is it like mid-November?
Okay, that's not too bad. I thought it was October for some reason. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
No, it was definitely November.
Yeah, okay.
Mid-November, yeah, around there. I think they did it because obviously last year they had the triple header, and with the 21 races, it was kind of very condensed and packed.
A lot of drivers didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'm sure the crew members didn't like it either, but I know a lot of drivers voiced their displeasure.
So whereas last season we had 4 races in July, there's going to be 4 now in September. The summer break shortened, so there'll be 1 race in the beginning of August, and then we're back at Spa in the beginning of September.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So they'll still get I think about 3 weeks off or so, but a little more spread out. And it also helps us in a standpoint of not having a lot of back-to-backs. We got more time to do Grand Prix previews and meet
Plan
together.
content.
Yeah, exactly.
Hoping all of us go to Montreal this year.
For sure.
Yeah, hopefully.
Chris, so
Hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be in June, first weekend of June. That's sort of always stayed consistent for the Canadian Grand Prix. And then we've got Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, he's aiming for his 6th world title. Sebastian Vettel going for number 5. Obviously, Hamilton is chasing Michael Schumacher's record of 7 world championships. And we are entering the 6th year of Mercedes domination.
Yeah.
Can they do it again?
Well,
we already heard some complaints from Hamilton.
What's new?
Yeah, he said the exact same thing last year. That, this is the closest that it's ever been, and I think Ferrari have the edge. And I mean, maybe they did at the start, Ferrari, but definitely not at the end.
No.
Right. So let's get into it. We can start with Mercedes then as the first sort of team and what we're expecting from them. For me personally, I don't buy into this whole Mercedes does this a lot where they downplay themselves. A lot of the F1 teams do actually. Well, we're not the quickest. We're half tenths behind. You heard Hamilton said that in testing. I believe they'll be pretty close to Ferrari. I think that they're slightly going to be behind this year because historically in F1, whether it's the early days with McLaren and Senna when they dominated Schumacher and Ferrari or Vettel and Red Bull, the domination sort of ends around the 4th or 5th year.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for Mercedes to continue on this path of winning world championships and drivers' championships. We've seen Ferrari close the gap in the last 2 years, which I think is a good indication that 2019 will be Ferrari's year, which I will get to when we get to Ferrari.
Yeah.
But I still do believe that Mercedes will be the second best team this season for sure. And Hamilton, obviously, we know what we're going to get from him. We're going to get pole positions. We're going to get race wins. He'll be at the top almost any year that he's in the sport as long as he's got the car to support him. So I think Mercedes, we've seen with their new upgrades in week 2 of testing, they're sort of trying out different things, and maybe they're going to use that setup for specific race weekends, but I don't necessarily buy into this thing that Mercedes is just going to all of a sudden collapse. I don't think that will happen.
No, neither do I. And you mentioned the sandbagging or downplaying. Mercedes are very well known for that. I do think, though, that we will see them have the toughest time yet. I think Lewis is saying the truth about that. It will be the toughest year for Mercedes to adapt and to stay with Ferrari or keep up with Ferrari or pass Ferrari, whichever way you want to phrase it. The only thing it is a very long season. And Mercedes are probably the best out of anyone for their development of a race car. And what needs what needs tweaks and tinkering throughout the season. Hopefully the car doesn't need a twerk. That's a little weird.
Twerk and twinkering?
Twerking, yeah. They are the best at that throughout the season. That, I think, is going to be the biggest factor, is if they can continue to develop their car ahead of the rest of the grid as they've done in years past.
And one thing with Mercedes, too, is their teamwork is probably the best that we've ever seen in the sport.
Yeah.
One of the reasons probably why Ferrari bottled it last season with the change in leadership, their CEO obviously passing away, but that that internal thing of Valtteri having to, Sebastian being favored ahead of Kimi and Kimi being forced on awkward strategies just to benefit Vettel. Mm-hmm. I still remember to Monza when they did not work together as a team and let Lewis Hamilton essentially win that race. Yeah. So I think that will be the key for Ferrari, but I would agree that they have the money, obviously. They have the team power behind them to change things if they need to. So the Mercedes engine is still going to be maybe slightly on par with Ferrari or maybe slightly behind. We see last year Ferrari did make some upgrades to the power unit. But I wouldn't rule out Mercedes that quickly just yet. They'll still be good this season.
Absolutely not. Shaker?
No, I agree with everything you guys have said about Mercedes. I think you're right. I think you're both right in terms of Lewis Hamilton is downplaying a little bit, but I think he's also hiding it slightly. I am still not too sure about the whole Hamilton and Bottas kind of link up. And I think I was reading a few months ago that if, depending on how Bottas performs, he might move out after this year from Mercedes, depending on how things go. So,
or if you're according to us, if you watched in our previous video, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, Esteban Ocon stepping in for Bottas mid-season.
A little foreshadowing there for my predictions.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. There you go.
There you go.
So, like I said, it should be a very interesting year in terms of Mercedes, but I don't think they are going to dominate this year. I really don't, but I'm most likely going to be wrong about it, but I think it's time for the Mercedes tenure to kind of end. I think we need to see a little bit more change and see and how it goes. And I think Ferrari's kind of noticing that Mercedes, I think last year they thought Mercedes was going to have their downfall as well, and didn't quite happen. So I think Ferrari's going to kind of step it up a little bit more this year, especially like you said, where they don't have to worry about this whole team thing where they had to face everything towards Vettel. They have a new younger driver that's kind of going to play along with that kind of thing. I expect Bottas to show up a little bit more this year. That is the one thing I'm hoping for, and I think is going to happen. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
He's definitely going to need to if he wants to achieve more in his career. I think for me, Valtteri has to go about it the way Rosberg went about it in essentially the 3 years that he was teammates with Lewis, or I think 4 or 5 years, but especially in the 2016 where even though they came together and they crashed out of each other in the race, I think that's what you need to beat Hamilton, because this whole...
Just plow into him.
Yeah. No, but I'm serious. But I think Valtteri needs to get his elbows out more in 2019. And if there are team orders, don't listen to them. If you get in a scenario with Russia in last season, don't allow Lewis to pass.
Yeah, that's. I think you're spot on there. Like, robbed Valtteri of a race win in his career that he's not going to get many of. Let's be honest.
And we saw some pretty monotoned interviews from Bottas last year, so
I don't think he was happy at all.
No, exactly. And I as a driver, the team that you're driving for, even in any kind of not any sport, you want to be happy for the team that you're playing for or driving for, and it just didn't look like Valtteri was phased at all with how the turnout was going to be. He's like, I'm here to drive. I felt was kind of his motivation to keep going. I want him there to win. I don't want him there to just drive and be a support driver. I want him there to win and push and give all the other drivers a little more competition. And as much as it is a team-based sport, I think it's also very much an individual sport at the same time. And I think Valtteri really needs to make a push for it. And we've seen the driver he is. We've seen what he can do. He's really good at holding back and making the push when he needs to do it. So, yeah.
He's definitely a talented driver. He's won races. He's been on the pole position. It's tough for him because he's got Hamilton as a teammate, but if
he did have some bad luck last year.
Yeah,
especially in Baku.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But he does need to have a much better start to the season than he did last year. Obviously, the crash in Australia because he was pushing very hard. Baku, not much you can do there, but...
No, not at all. It's just a crappy situation for him.
In a way, it sort of set the tone for his season there and stuff like that. So, yeah, the thing is that we know Hamilton is the championship favorite, but in Australia, everybody starts with 0 points.
Yep.
So if you want to get off to a good start, out-qualify him, out-race him, and then maybe the team will sort of start to lean your way.
Yep, exactly.
So it'll be a big year for him, that's for sure. I like we were mentioning before, I've got more on Valtteri in terms of my bold predictions for 2019.
Wow.
But I think in a summary, I would agree with Shaker. I think they will be taking a step back this season, Mercedes as a whole. But to me, they're still, without a doubt, in the top three.
They're still teams. A force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying they're going to do, they're not going to drop down to fucking Williams' position, but but I think I'm more or less just sick of their dominance. I think I want a change, and I think as fans, we all want to see something different too.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So that's where I'm going to leave it.
Well, also their biggest competitor will be Ferrari.
Yeah.
We would hope so.
You would hope so.
Or
you never know. Could be Red Bull, but we're going to obviously stick with Ferrari.
Yeah.
And a lot of talking points this season for them as well, because obviously Charles Leclerc joins a big club after what was a fantastic rookie season. And then you have Sebastian Vettel this year, who made mistakes last year that cost him the championship. You could tell he got frustrated and tried to overpower his team last year, try to be the one that made all the decisions, and that really backfired for Ferrari. So this year will be interesting with new leadership, how they go about things, and how Vettel, personally, is going to do with having this young stud coming up as his teammate that won't be playing nice like Kimi did. Charles Leclerc is here to win. He's a hungry guy.
Yeah.
And I think that we could see Charles Leclerc be favored over Sebastian Vettel this season.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, and that's not one of my bold predictions. That's just in general.
Well, this was one of the things I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of talk in the Twitterverse about Leclerc versus Vettel, and people are sort of already writing off Sebastian Vettel and saying that Charles Leclerc is gonna wipe him away. And
I don't think wipe him away.
No, I think he's gonna provide competition. I think he's going to be there right behind.
But that could be a way to push Vettel.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with that. I want Vettel to see him in the rearview mirror and be like, "Oh fuck, my team, my teammate." We talked to Shaker. I was just told I'm not allowed to swear, so there's one.
Fuck it.
I want him to see him in the rearview mirror and to realize, that's my teammate. I want to be the better teammate, and I want to make the push for the win. And I think you're right. It is going to provide a lot of competition for Vettel this year as well, as maybe as much as Kimi did or more than Kimi did. Because there was times last year where Kimi was kind of subdued and kind of just did what he was told. So I'm sure he'll try to do the same thing. He's a little bit younger, but I think he's got a little bit of fire in him to make the push. So
yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how he does in race one. Because if he comes out and flies, imagine this: Charles Leclerc comes out, flies out, takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and just controls the whole field the rest of the race. What do people think? And it's like, oh boy, here we go. This could be a little juicy season. Saying that, Sebastian Vettel's a 5-time world champion.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, but 5-time world champion, and you have Charles Leclerc, who basically spent an entire 4 or 5 months with him as his leading up to this season. He's going to pick up quite a lot from a 5-time world winning champion.
Yeah, he is.
He's I think we're gonna see a lot more growth in Charles Leclerc that we did from last year. Because he is with somebody who's won so much, who's respected among every driver that's on the track. So, yeah, it should. We'll see.
The fact that he's so young, he's gonna have a lot more fire in him than, let's say, Raikkonen did. We hear some things out of Ferrari that they're sort of already gonna favor Vettel, but you can't really do that because the first race you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't think Leclerc is going to outdo Sebastian Vettel in 2019. I do agree with you guys that the competition he'll provide will be good. There's just a lot of things that we're not sure about with Charles Leclerc. It is his second season in Formula One, so let's not forget that. He hasn't had a lot of experience running at the top of the pack. How is he going to do if he leads a Grand Prix, if he's got Lewis Hamilton behind him? How will he be able to manage tires if they have to one-stop it? Just certain things like that in the midfield you necessarily don't get to deal with when you're leading a race or in contention for a race. So I think he'll be able to handle the pressure just fine, but we never know with these sort of new and young drivers. I still think that Vettel, with the things that he learned from last season and in 2017 as well, everybody in the team looks very positive going into 2019. It seems like Vettel has recovered it, and like you guys were saying, where last year he took a lot upon himself and there's maybe some internal things going on. It seems though in the preseason they've gotten rid of that and they're more together as a team, which if you want to beat Mercedes, you're going to need to do it as a team. Even though it is an individual sport, you still need that support from the entire team to be able to win the championship. So a lot of people maybe have written Vettel off from last season. A lot of pressure is on him in 2019, considering the way his last 2018 went. But for me, the Leclerc-Vettel dynamic is going to be interesting to see how that plays out all season long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've got a guy now whose second season of F1 had some okay results in Alfa Romeo, but now is being thrown into the championship contending team right away. So very, very interesting, I think, for this season. So that's a storyline we'll be following out throughout the whole year, I'm sure.
I think it's going to be the main storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess that's pretty much it for Ferrari.
Yeah, I would say so.
They're going to be up there for number one, so.
Yeah, for sure.
That's obvious.
So Red Bull, what do they call themselves now? Aston Martin, Red Bull, Honda, or something?
Yeah,
their official team name.
We'll go with Red Bull.
Yeah. But they've got Honda, the new partnership for 2019. Pierre Gasly, the new driver.
We actually met somebody from Honda while we were at the Racing Point event.
Oh, that's right, we did.
Yeah.
Xavier was his name.
Xavier, yeah.
Shout out Xavier.
Yeah.
Very nice guy.
He said he was going to follow us, so
He did.
He did. On Instagram too. So he's a man of his word. Well done to you. So what are we expecting with Red Bull? Maybe I'll go first in my thoughts with Red Bull. Initial things from preseason testing in terms of pace says that they're going to be right up there with Mercedes and Ferrari. It seems like they are a couple tenths behind Ferrari. In week one, they seemed like they were sort of on par with Mercedes, but with Mercedes sandbagging, we're not exactly sure where Red Bull will be. My main concern with Red Bull and the Honda partnership is not necessarily the power, but the reliability.
Right. But I'm going to counter you right away. And just with the testing they had the last 2 weeks, I think that is going to be a non-concern for them.
In terms of reliability?
I think they have enough confidence now to say that Honda blew me away with how well they did last year. And especially now, this first 2 weeks of testing. I think that they're going to be up there with the rest of the engines in terms of reliability. And I don't think there's going to be any major issue, any major storyline.
Yeah, I agree with you there too.
So I would have to disagree then with both of you.
Yeah.
When I look at the last few seasons and even last year with Hartley and Gasly at Toro Rosso, they did have to take a lot of penalties with replacing components. And we still have that limit of 3 components per parts in the engine. So that's my issue, is that if we get on to the later stages of the races, so race 15, 16, some of these components have to last at least 6 or 7 races. So if Max, for example, is in the hunt for the championship, what happens when he has to take a grid penalty because of MGUK that he has to replace, or just the entire engine? So maybe they have figured it out. Maybe that whole McLaren-Honda partnership was just toxic and Red Bull is a lot more friendlier to work with and easier to work with. I hope so for their sake. But until I see Honda through a 21 race season be reliable, because when you look at Ferrari, Vettel did not have one mechanical failure last season. They didn't have to replace, take any extra engine penalties for replacing components, along with, I think Mercedes maybe took 1 or 2.
I think Mercedes had 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah, so if you look at...
Especially with their other drivers.
Yeah.
Like not the main team, but the teams they supplied.
Exactly, right. So...
But you could say, I think, the same for Ferrari, teamed with the teams they supplied.
Yeah,
true. In terms of the big teams, though, fighting for the championship, reliability is one of the main things you want.
Yeah.
Because points are just so important. So that will be my sort of main concern. After the first couple races, we'll see exactly where they are in the speed traps. But as you mentioned in testing, it seems like they'll be just fine in terms of the power.
I feel like last year was kind of more of a trial run for them, wasn't it? Handing it off to Toro Rosso and be like, see what you can do. And, and like you said, I really hope they kind of did work out some of their issues that they did have with them last year. And, that's kind of why they decided to take Honda on.
But I think Red Bull had more issues with Renault last year than
so
Toro
too.
Rosso did with Honda.
I think so,
for
too.
sure. Yeah,
100%.
No question.
So in terms of that, it's probably going to be a huge improvement for them. But yeah, I think you are right. If they kind of worked out all their kinks and such, I think we can really see Red Bull making a push for number 1, number 2 position this year. But all depending on how Mercedes and Ferrari perform.
I mean, they're not going to have the top speed as the other 2 teams, right? That's known for Red Bull. And known as a Honda power engine.
But we saw last year that Max didn't need top speed to win races.
Well, and that's exactly it. They rely on their aero package, which is bar none one of the best.
One of the best out there. And I don't know. I'm honestly Red Bull's probably the team I'm most excited for this year in terms of the team changes, the driver changes. Everything is kind of slowly coming together for them to make a big push for the end of the season. And I think we said multiple times towards the end of last season in our shows where we're seeing what Max can really do. And there was a lot of times where Pierre Gasly came out of nowhere to get, not podium, but, top 6, top 10 positions, which, again, out of nowhere. I was not expecting him to be anywhere close. So it's going to be another interesting driver position for both of them to see what they can do, because we saw that Pierre Gasly is not a loser. He does not like to lose. He does not like to be at the bottom, and that's the same thing with Max. So it's really going to be an interesting kind of team that they're going to have together to make that push to either get number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever they get at the end of the season. But yeah, I think it should be a lot. Hopefully not as many issues as last year is what I'm trying to say.
I think Max is bar none number 1 though.
As a driver?
In that team?
Oh, in that team?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think Pierre will do as well as Charles Leclerc will in Ferrari.
No,
and I
don't think so either.
That he's going to have a rude awakening because, just in my point of view, I think Gasly struggled so far in testing. Obviously, the big crash that kind of ruined a day of testing for Red Bull. But as well, just handling a faster car in Red Bull. I don't know if he has that yet. I think maybe he needed one more year of development at Toro Rosso. I could be completely wrong, but it'll be interesting. And just remember, if he doesn't start out well, and he has a little bit of issues, Mr. Torpedo is coming right behind him, and it wouldn't be that far off, because Red Bull are known for this. If Pierre Gasly is really struggling, they find that he needs more development, that a guy that's already raced a Red Bull top team car comes in, and Mark Webber suits it. No, I'm kidding. Danny Kvyat could make a return to Red Bull as well.
They did it with him, right? So
they did it with him.
Absolutely, they could definitely happen. But
then what would happen then? Would Max win that race too, or like?
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, I want to get to Max
because Max always wins when Danny gets demoted.
Oh yeah.
Right. So if he gets promoted, like does Max retire?
He wins
then?
twice.
Somehow, Gasly wins at Toro Rosso. I don't know. But they really have to keep an eggshell around Pierre Gasly and nurture him into what is going to be a top class, top tier, top team race car driver. Because I don't think he's just there yet. He could be there mid-season.
He's still really young, isn't he? He's under
absolutely.
18. Yeah.
I'm not saying he'll never be there. I think 100% he will be there.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if this was the right time to do it. They're put in a tough situation with Ricciardo leaving. I'm sure they would have liked to have Ricciardo on for another season or two, keep Pierre there to really make sure he understands F1 and how to really be a true F1 driver. But that was forced out of their hand, of course. So that's, I think, a major story point to be looking for this season in terms of young drivers.
They probably didn't expect Gasly to be in their car for 2019 because they thought Ricciardo would resign. Yeah. So I think that whole shuffle happened pretty quickly and unexpectedly, and for Gasly as well. So it will be difficult for him. And personally, I just think Verstappen's going to eat him alive this season.
I think so, too.
Oh, yeah, I think so as well.
I think
I hope Gasly watches everything that Max does, because Max is going to teach that kid a lot.
Yeah.
And Max is a kid.
I know. Yeah,
what 21, 22?
22, I think. Yeah. Verstappen in 2019.
But he's a veteran.
Yeah, you'll see him completely different, I think, for 2018. So there was a story during testing where it was, I think, after one of the days where they had limited running or whatever, but Max had to do some media interviews, but then he got pulled away to do something else. But then eventually he did come back and he answered like 20, 30 questions from a massive like scrum of media. And people were just saying that that's something that you wouldn't see from him usually. He probably wouldn't have come back to do interviews, in years past. So there's a sense of maturity that people are sensing around him that now when he's in his fourth or fifth year of F1. All the turmoil and adversity he had to go through last season, he's sort of starting to mature a lot more. And this season, you'll see, especially in races, his racecraft to me is what's going to improve most in 2019. So he'll still be aggressive. He's still going to take risks, but it will be calculated.
Right.
It'll be very Lewis Hamilton-esque, where he'll go wheel to wheel. He'll
No, but
overtake.
Lewis doesn't take any risks.
No.
Right. I mean, he's been at the front most of the time,
Yeah.
but you see Lewis very rarely crashes out.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So everything is under control when it comes to Lewis Hamilton. I think Max Verstappen is going to hone all those skills that he has, the raw pace, the overtaking ability. He'll bring everything together in this amazing package of being able to construct a race. Qualifying, I think, is a place that he'll need to improve for 2019.
Yeah.
The addition of a powerful Honda power unit will most likely help him. And if he brings all that together, he'll be right in there in the fight for the championship.
He was last year.
He was last year, and that was only towards like the second half that he really started to make that push. So, yeah, like you said, with the increased power unit and everything that they have going with them with Honda, and him being the primary driver there instead of them trying to kind of support both Ricardo and Max that were there last year. I think you're right. I think he is truly going to hone his skills this year and make the push for first or second. And he's probably the driver I'm most excited to see in the pit this year. I want him to do really well just because of what we saw towards him towards the end of the season, and I want him to build on that a little bit more. And I'm sure we'll see it. Maybe not in the first or second race, but I think as we get going, I think he's just going to get better and better. And like you said, he's only 21, 22. Compared to Vettel and Hamilton, who are in their 30s. So,
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so it should be good.
Did we move on to...
Nope, that's it. That's it. The top three teams, that's all we need to preview. Nobody else matters.
That's it. I was going to say Ricardo since we're talking about Verstappen.
Well, we could do the best of the rest.
That's right. Well, that's a good question. Who will be the best of the rest?
Well, I have honestly no idea. I couldn't tell you.
I don't think it will be Renault.
Oh.
For whatever reason, I just don't feel that Renault will be the fourth best team this season. I think they'll be in the hunt for the fourth best team, but they've got a lot more competition than they did last season. So with Renault, obviously Daniel Ricciardo made the move to join Nico Hülkenberg.
Is there a number one driver there? Or is it a 1A, 1B? Because I think it's a 1A, 1B.
Who's this? Sorry, Renault?
Renault. Because I think Hülkenberg has the lineage of being with Renault to have that respect to being a number one driver. I think Ricciardo has the talent to be a number one driver. Yeah. I don't think that right away they will have a solidified 1 and 2. I think it's going to be a team effort for Renault. I think they have to have a team effort between both drivers.
You are right, but I think Ricciardo's definitely 1A.
You think?
I think so. I think
agree, yeah.
I think it's definitely going to be a team effort, but I think they'll not always, but I think they'll put Ricciardo a little bit ahead of the pack in terms of him and Hülkenberg, just because of the experience that Ricciardo has.
Well, Hülkenberg has a lot of experience. He's been in this sport for a long time. Remember, he started Force India back.
That's true.
In 2010?
Right.
He's been around for a long time. He's a seasoned veteran. He's a great race car driver. Still looking for his first podium.
Crazy.
Which is crazy because he is very talented. He just hasn't had the right situation yet.
Sad moment when Williams get a podium and you don't.
That's true. Yeah, Lance just coming in there.
Well, I would agree. I do think Daniel Ricciardo is the 1A, but you make a great point in terms of working together as a team.
Yeah.
They won't be competing for the championship this season, but constructors' points are very important for them.
And they're looking to 2021,
long term,
right?
Yeah.
That's the main goal, like 2 years down the road. And I think that's where they really have to start developing, not start developing, but continue developing this car.
Yeah.
And I think the expertise of a high caliber driver and Ricciardo being in those high cars like Red Bull will also clue in. But the fact that Hülkenberg has such a bond with the Renault team is also a huge factor that will play in for research and development this year.
What's going to be fun is just seeing Ricciardo overtaking in the midfield because they'll have plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, he will.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be fun because...
But he doesn't have as strong as a car as he used to, right? It's going to be a little harder for him.
But he was still one of the best overtakers.
He is the best overtaker on the grid.
Yeah, and...
No doubt.
I think on those turns we'll see a little bit more from him. But I don't think he'll be able to overtake a car like straight down a track. I think we'll see more overtakes on the turn or
In the
something
corners,
like that.
yeah.
I think we'll see more of that from Ricciardo this year compared to Red Bull really not always didn't always have the pace to do that, but I think we'll see that a little bit more for Renault this year.
Yeah, and the aero regs might help them with that, with being able to follow easier. So, I think Renault is looking more toward the future, but this season might be that next step to 2021. So, so we'll see. So next we have Haas, and they've had a quiet but good testing. New title sponsor with Rich Energy, which has been making some noise, obviously, in the paddock. But it seems like Haas could be another team that's there for fourth place in the Constructors. Not making a lot of noise in terms of, great lap times and testing, but they said that they were hiding a lot, sort of, in terms of turning down the engine and not running the softer compound tires. So, for me, Haas might be the fourth best team this season.
That's your number 4 team?
That would be my prediction for who's going to win the best of the rest would be Haas. They've got 2 really good drivers, even though Grosjean we made fun of a lot last season.
We did.
There's going to be no chance of Ericsson hitting him out of the race this year, so
he'll
be safe.
Flying from IndyCar.
Maybe. But I think Grosjean has been a good, solid driver. He does make mistakes, but at the end of the day, he is a world-class driver. Magnussen is crazy.
Magnussen's crazy.
He's just crazy.
I love the guy.
Did you see his quote in the Netflix documentary trailer?
No.
He's like, I'm going to do everything I can to get the best result. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm like, yeah, that's a Magnussen quote.
Magnussen quote, yeah. He is a crazy Dane.
He should have added, I'm not afraid of killing other drivers either.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I do think that Magnussen is a talented driver, and he doesn't care about the rest of the pack. He'll rub elbows with other drivers. He'll go wheel to wheel. Sometimes is a bit dirty, but for the most part is still a good driver. And last season, I think he would have had his best season in Formula One. So Haas, to me, I think will be the best of the rest this season, and you'll see a really good progression in their 4th year Formula One, I think.
I mean, they have been really quiet during testing. Kind of sneaky quiet. No real troubles, no real successes. And it's hard to get a good grasp for me on what Haas is going to be this year. I mean, you're saying they're going to be number 4 for you. I don't know that personally because I haven't been able to really see out what pace they're going to be throwing out there, what research they have. The last few years, they've had a lot of tough times developing that car throughout the season. And I think that that's something they're going to have to improve on this year. Does Rich Energy have a rich amount of money going toward them?
A lot of rich energy, as you would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They should call honestly, like the energy recovery system. They should just rename it. So like rich energy deployment.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That would work perfectly, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard to get a grasp on what Haas is going to be this season. I just have no idea where they're going to be. Yeah, they could be 4th. But they could be right down there with, I should say down there, but they could be with, McLaren, Racing Point, Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, those teams.
Yeah.
Not Williams.
Yeah. Well, they've sort of gotten this role of almost a Ferrari B team in a way, so maybe they'll just borrow parts from Ferrari and be really good.
That's what's always happened. And that's what I mean. That's why the research and development hasn't been great. Because they're just like, oh, thanks. They haven't had to do it themselves yet.
Yeah.
Which they need to do.
For sure. Okay. Next team, Alfa Romeo. The aforementioned Alfa Romeo, which might be my new favorite team. Like I said, the livery grew on me from last season.
I told you the livery
I find their
last
stuff
year
so
was
classy. It's so elegant.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to buy one of those shirts.
So Alpha.
It looks amazing. Kimi Räikkönen obviously joining the team. Initially Sauber, now in Alfa Romeo. And Antonio Giovinazzi as well, so one of 4 rookies on the grid this season, along with Albon, Norris, and George Russell. And I'm really looking forward to this team. They've been super impressive in testing. They've got that radical front wing design that a lot of teams were like, ooh, maybe we should copy this.
Well, yeah, it was the same as... Wait, did they have the...
They had like the high end plates. And then the little like thing that went through funneled out in the middle or whatever.
It was very similar. It was just a more aggressive Ferrari. Ferrari went for just a little bit more conservative on that.
Yeah. Alfa did go aggressive. Yeah, for sure. But in terms of the times, I mean, they've had top 5 times in testing on the softest tires.
Yeah.
They've got the Ferrari engine in the back, which is powerful again. It's reliable. We know that. We got a world champion that's in the grid, and Giovinazzi too had a very strong testing as one of the rookies.
He didn't crash in his first couple laps, which he did last year.
He did a lot when he was filling in for Sauber in a free practice in the few years before. So I'm really looking forward to Alfa Romeo, and I've got Alfa Romeo included in one of my bold predictions. So
don't spoil it yet.
I know I won't spoil it yet. So to me, they could be in potentially competing as Renault and Haas for fourth in the constructors. I really do believe that.
Wow.
I think they're going to be better than McLaren, Toro Rosso, Racing Point, even Williams for sure. I think they'll be right in that battle, and having a guy like Kimi Räikkönen there is just going to help you even more to develop the car, to give performance in the car as well. And Giovinazzi, I think, will come along very nicely for Alfa Romeo. So. And just having a big name like Alfa Romeo fully back into the sport is a positive.
Well, I think you're right there with the Kimi Räikkönen part. Like, it is very important for a team like that to have a world championship driver on the grid. They have a talented driver to drive that car to wherever it could be. Do I think it's going to be up there? Maybe. The midfield is so close.
I want a definitive answer.
Maybe. The field is so close this year.
It is, yeah.
It is so close. But in saying that, it's very hard to tell in terms of we don't know if Renault has put up their full power, and we really don't know if Haas has gone their full power. So to say they're up there with those guys, I think is a little bit of a stretch for me.
Okay.
But I don't think they're going to be ninth like they were last year. I think that they have improved. They are going to be a better team this year. But I don't think they're going to be knocked out of the park. Holy crap, what the hell did Alfa do this offseason?
I'm in the middle. I think they're going to be a big surprise. I think they are going to come out of nowhere and give a lot of challenges to the midfield pack. But I also agree with Chris. They might, come out of nowhere and give a little competition to the top three drivers / teams this year. But I don't know. It could go both ways. I think it's all going to depend on how the race is going and how the drivers are performing in those races. I think it's going to be based on individual stuff rather than how they perform throughout the entire year. I think they'll have a couple of moments where they'll shine, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, because of the new regulation changes, it just provides a team like Alfa Romeo the chance to
absolutely
provide some surprise results. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to what they can do. All right, so we got our last three teams here. The Canadian team, so to speak, Racing Point, F1, the new identity, but very much still the same team. They got the new driver, Lance Stroll. They've got a bunch of financial backing now from a bunch of rich billionaire Canadian fellas.
Target sponsorship.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, no, we talked about that in our the first testing.
Yeah, last week.
We talked about that, on how weird it looks.
Yeah.
But,
we'll see how that lawsuit goes.
Yeah.
But where do we think Racing Point will end up for this season? They haven't showed us a lot in testing because of the lack of parts that they have, and they're bringing a big upgrade in Melbourne, so they could maybe shock everybody when they get to Melbourne. To me, I think Racing Point will still be a strong midfield team. Force India, as they were known for the last couple of years, they've always had a really strong midfield team. Even through the financial troubles of last season, they still finished high. Perez has really been the only driver in this turbo hybrid era to kind of score consistent podiums other than the big three teams.
Sometimes podium, man.
Yeah.
Who he is. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. They're kind of reaching a new era with what they have, and obviously with a whole bunch of financial backing, new drivers and everything. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think they're going to be as good as what we saw Force India. Good from what we saw from Force India. I think it is still going to be with the shuffle around with everything that's going on. It's going to be interesting to see, but I definitely think they'll be better than Williams.
Safe bet.
Wow.
And I think they might be around the same area, around the same points and area that Alfa Romeo is going to be at the end of the season. I think they're going to be the two teams kind of fighting it out to see who can do better than the other. Which kind of begs for the question, like, where does McLaren stand with everything else, right? But obviously, we'll get at that until
holding hands with Williams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird to talk about with McLaren dropping down, but yeah, I think Racing Point is going to be similar to Alfa Romeo. I think we'll see some great highlights from them throughout the season. But I also think we're going to see a lot of low points as well in terms of the drivers not performing the way that they wanted.
Ooh,
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Or the way they expected.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that considering all the struggles they went through last season, but still had good results, well, what can they do now with more financial backing?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. I know I literally just said with we did Haas before this, right?
Yeah.
How I said I don't think they'll be back there with the Racing Points. I kind of messed up my words there because I think Racing Point is going to be number 4.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They're my number 4 pick, and the reason I say that is because they have Perez, who's a very talented driver who has experience in battling with the top 3 teams on the grid. Lance Stroll is a talented driver, but as well he has, I think, the drive to now he's with a team that isn't going to be at the back of the grid all the time to make a push. They kept everyone together from their glory days with Force India. They scored a podium last year. I think they're going to be even faster this year, and I think that that's going to be a team to watch out for, competing with Red Bull as a number 3, because I think they're going to have that pace.
Whoa!
I know it's. I know
is this your bold prediction?
I was about to say, I'm like, this is kind of out there.
It's not my bold prediction. I think that they're going to be up there, and yes, they're bringing a big upgrade for Australia, but I think now they have the time to research and actually to put some development to this car down the line. They have the money to do all that research. That you're going to see a lot of improvement from Racing Point. I don't think they're going to be a top 3 team at the beginning of the season, but I think once we get to the midway through the season, I think you could see them pushing, maybe not Verstappen, maybe Gasly, for being up there and overtaking him.
Well, they were in 4th like halfway through the season last year before their name changed, right? And their points were reset.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm gonna wait honestly to get a better assessment after the first 2-3 races to see what these upgrades really can have. But when we were at the Racing Point launch, that was everybody's aim. 4th place. Why not win the first race together? Podiums, all this talk. Yeah. So they seem very positive within themselves and a team. They had some struggles in terms of developing the car, with just the new regulations were difficult. I'm sure most of the teams sort of felt that way too. So very curious to see. And Lance Stroll, we were talking about this last week of why Lance Stroll gets so much hate amongst all the F1 fans, and even in the comments of our Racing Point videos, a lot of people were just so disappointed with Lance Stroll, and as Canadian fans, they didn't like him.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to sort of break this down a little bit and sort of see it. And I understand everybody's point about him being a paid driver and he's in the sport because of his dad. And
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is. I think you have to earn to be on that grid.
You got an F1 super license, FIA super license somehow. You can't just buy that. You have to be a good driver to get a super license.
I think his road has been maybe slightly easier because, okay, first of all, if you want to be an F1 driver, you need to have money. Now, whether that comes from a billionaire dad or a big sponsor or somebody that's going to help you, you need money.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And then second of all, he won in his junior categories. Now he did jump. Like I say, he didn't go to F2. He did the
which I think wasn't the right decision. But I think a lot of people think that. But Williams need the money, so he saw Sorokin happen.
Which is my point. So I understand.
But look how Sorokin turned out.
Yeah.
He didn't turn out where I feel Lance proved that he could actually drive. That's why he's stayed with Williams, and then now is progressing forward.
Well, if you took away Stroll, who would you put in his position?
Ocon.
Right. So this is the big argument, is because of his dad investing in the team and taking it over, his son got in there, and a very talented driver like Esteban Ocon
which is why we need 12 teams in this sport. But anyways, that's a difference. Jaguar, get in the sport.
I don't know if Jaguar is the right choice. But
Jaguar is the right choice.
But on the other hand, it's if you're Lance Stroll, you're not just going to say, well, okay, here you go, Esteban, here's the seat. But the point that I try to make across is that if he didn't deserve, because you hear this a lot, Lance Stroll doesn't deserve to be in F1. If he didn't deserve to be in F1, he wouldn't be in F1 by now because
Exactly.
no matter the money, if you're crashing every race, and I mean, there was a guy in the early 2000s that was very rich and essentially put himself in a Formula One car, and he was horrible. I forget the gentleman's name, but he crashed in almost every race. He was just a terrible driver, and he was out of Formula One, snap of the fingers, just like that. So look at his first season in Formula One. Scores a podium in Baku, which first time racing at that track, an insane race that had everybody crashing.
Yeah, I mean, that helped.
Yeah, that helped for sure, but he managed to keep a level head, finish the race. He was in P2 and then just lost it at the very end, P3. Qualified on the front row of the grid at Monza in wet conditions. Okay, fair enough. The Red Bulls had engine penalties, so he got moved up, but he was still within the top 10, and I think he ended the season with around 43 World Championship points.
Yeah.
So he's shown that he has the potential. He just needs a better car, which he has this year. So I think for everybody that's kind of hating on the fact that he's in the sport, wait till this season. If he does really struggle in this Racing Point team, and if the car is good, and if Sergio Perez completely outclasses him, maybe we can have the argument.
You can have the argument, for
sure.
Sure.
Absolutely. But on the other hand, you also have to take into account that the money that the Strolls brought did save this team. It saved a lot of jobs, and Racing Point or Force India, whatever you want to call them now, is still in the sport.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's positive. But
would we like to have this down to 9 teams? Like then
right.
It'd be like, holy crap, what's going on here?
But I think if he didn't deserve to be in the sport, if he was that bad, we would have really seen it. I think that he's had last year too with Williams. He made up a lot of places on the opening lap. But when you start 19th and make up to 14th, who notices that?
Yeah, exactly.
So the jury's still out on Lance Stroll and his abilities. I think he'll shine this season in the Racing Point car, and he'll show us what he's all about.
I think this is his breaking point this year.
Racing Point?
Breaking point.
Wow, is it that time already to wrap it up?
Wow.
So that's it for Lance Stroll. So we'll quickly go through McLaren and Williams. No offense.
Did we talk about Toro Rosso yet?
Oh no, we didn't. Good point.
I mean,
did we talk? No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
But like,
we can mix them together with Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do.
Because I don't have much.
We
to talk
can
about
we can do the last 3 quick things.
Let's do Toro Rosso then.
Okay.
For me, anyway, they had very strong testing.
Yeah,
they did.
Don't know much about Alex Albon, to be honest with you guys, but he impressed me in the first 2 weeks of testing. Had some fast laps on the
Seems like a
tires.
nice guy. Media friendly.
Where's he from?
Britain, I think, right?
Britain?
Yes,
Okay.
Britain.
Maybe?
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not exactly
Yeah, I think
sure.
you're right.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing with Toro Rosso is that I'm not 100% sure like where exactly they'll be. Of course, we saw Alex Albon. He's making his Formula One debut, and then Danny Kvyat returning to Toro Rosso.
I can't take him seriously.
I don't know. Maybe he'll shake up the midfield in the top 3 with a little torpedo action. He's probably matured as a driver, realistically, and you're probably not going to see what we usually see out of Kvyat. I think that year off probably put some sense into him. Alex Albon will be interesting to see. Seems like a very nice guy, media friendly. I don't know about you, but that'd be interesting to see how he does. Obviously they're not going to be a huge team, but Toro Rosso they never have a bad car.
Yeah. I think we'll see them, as they usually do, get a 4th place, 5th place here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe now that they're not so much guinea pigs for the Honda engine, they can focus a little bit more on their own team.
Yeah.
And get some decent results. But yeah, you're right. They always seem like that team that just has a solid car in the midfield, and it's a good development for the Red Bull drivers. So I think they'll be right around fighting for 7th, 8th in the Constructors' Championship, and every now and again we'll see them get a really high points finish in a good qualifying session. So, and Kvyat, like you said, with the extra year off and the experience, he'll calm down a little bit.
I think so.
I'm still thinking of my breaking point joke. I'm sorry. It was pretty bad.
Well, speaking of pretty bad, Williams.
Do you want to go Williams next, and then McLaren last, I guess?
Oh, true. We didn't do. Okay, so we'll do McLaren.
Speaking of, no, they're not that bad.
Yeah, we kind of covered McLaren a little bit earlier, but
but I mean, we don't really know what they're going to be. They could be awful, or they could be very good.
Yeah.
I think everyone wants them to be very good. They've shown like they have some pace this season, like it is testing, but I just don't know if they're there yet. I think everyone's improved more than they have.
I agree. I think McLaren's one of those teams that we expect so much from them every single year.
Yeah, we do.
And every year we're kind of disappointed. And I think this is like one of the first times that they don't have Fernando Alonso. We could be like, oh no, like they have Alonso, they're going to make a push for it. They don't have that kind of, what's the word for it?
Talent?
That, and, like
Experience?
that little spark that, we expect from McLaren,
Right.
like something to come out of nowhere that we expect from a team. I think they're missing that this year. And that's why I think you're right. McLaren is kind of one of those things we don't know what's going to happen with them. With the other teams, we can kind of reason with it and be like, oh, well, they're going to do all right. They're going to have these kind of issues. McLaren's all over the place. Like, their drivers. Who are their drivers again this year?
Norris and
Norris.
Sainz.
Yeah, Norris and Sainz.
Doors.
Did I say Norris? No,
Okay.
I thought I said Norris.
Yeah.
So,
Lando Norris is highly touted.
Yeah,
Well,
he'll be
he
good.
is supposed to be very good.
well, yeah, that's just it. They don't always need the driver to bring the best out of the car. They just need a little something, and I think that was Fernando Alonso. And I think since he's gone, I can't really make a prediction of how well they're going to do this year or how badly they're going to do this year. I think you guys are right. They're probably going to be near the midfield, but I can't say. I can't 100% say what they're going to be doing this year.
I think they won't be as strong just because the rest of the midfield has gotten more competitive.
yeah.
They'll be better than 2018. I think the car will perform more, but just because Alfa Romeo, even Toro Rosso, Haas have seemed to improve more, I think it'll be tough for McLaren to keep up with them. But I think this is a slow start to a rebuild.
Yeah.
And Sainz, I think, is really good for them. And Norris, like you said, is a highly touted young rookie. So I think this is a good base for them to start developing for the future. But I still do believe they'll probably be around 8th or 9th in the Constructors, unfortunately. Which brings us to most likely
Being 10th place.
Yeah.
Williams. Just quickly on Williams, I'm interested to see Robert Kubica, obviously. Very tough for him. Not just on what his limitations are physically, but just coming into a team where a lot of struggles, difficulties.
Yeah.
And if the car is going to underperform, people are going to start to call for Robert Kubica to be outed, and we're not sure how he's going to perform. So
Not his fault. Let's be honest.
yeah, and George Russell, another guy, right? A rookie like Sirotkin was. I mean, how much can he show with a car like that? So I hope they won't be as bad as we're making them out to be.
I hope
but
not either, because everyone loves Williams.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone out there that hates the Williams team. Everyone just loves Williams. They're a nice little, they're a small shop still. They're a small team, but they've done so well with themselves throughout the past. They have so much lineage in this sport. For me, it's interesting. You talk about Kubica, you talk about George Russell. We don't talk about Esteban Ocon.
right.
There's not a seat that comes in. Could he slide in there and be something that they can turn into and say, oh, well, maybe we can shake things up a little bit. Maybe it's not permanent. Maybe it's a wake-up call for one of the drivers. I don't know. Williams can go anywhere this season. We have no idea. They could test out anything they want. Rockets jump on board, I think, to try and get them a little more money. Their livery looks great. We talked about that. I think it's going to be a slow process for Williams, but they need to use this year as a development year.
Yep.
They're going to use the first 3 weeks as testing.
Essentially,
It's going to be testing.
first month or so. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I hope it won't be that bad and they can have some decent results, but it seems like they're in tough again. So we got to wrap this thing up, but we'll do our 3 bold predictions before we go, and it just kind of fits in, segues to what you're talking about.
Oh, lovely.
My first bold prediction of 2019 is that Esteban Ocon will race in Formula One in 2019. I'm not going to say with which team.
No,
It could be Mercedes.
That's not that
It could be
bold.
Williams, but I'm just going to say Ocon will race. We'll have a race in 2019.
Imagine it's like Toro Rosso.
McLaren.
Something random. Yeah. Red Bull or something.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So that's my first one. I think whether it's because Valtteri will underperform again and Mercedes will feel like they need to make the switch, or if Kubica is underperforming and they just want to pull that trigger and bring in the future, I think Ocon will staying prepared, staying ready, and will eventually be put in a race during 2019. My second bold prediction, that Alfa Romeo will score multiple podiums in 2018.
Whoa.
2019, sorry.
Who?
Alfa Romeo.
Multiple podiums.
Multiple podiums.
Multiple.
Not just one. Oh my God.
Multiple. So 2, 3 maybe. I'm all in
8?
on Alfa Romeo. If I could buy stock in Alfa Romeo, I would.
I'm
Wow.
sure you could.
But I'm behind Kimi Räikkönen. I think Kimi Räikkönen will be the driver to get those podiums. I think that they're going to be strong this year. They're going to surprise everybody with the aero package that they got, this new team, the Ferrari engine behind them, Kimi Räikkönen behind the wheel. What could go wrong?
Okay.
I'm all in on Alfa Romeo.
Multiple. Okay.
And my last one, which I don't know, you can call it bold. Maybe it's not so bold, but Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari will run away with the 2019
Dominate.
championship.
That is bold.
They will run away with it. I think it'll be close in the beginning, and we will see after the summer break, Ferrari will start to pull away with both championships.
Usually that's when they bottle it.
Right. This year's different. This new guy that they got in, Binotto, or what? I keep messing up his name. The new team
Matteo
principal,
something?
Matteo. Yeah. I like him. I like the whole positive energy behind Ferrari. Leclerc will have a good season. He will get his first race win. He will score some podiums, but ultimately, I think in 2019,
You think he'll win?
a race.
Leclerc?
Oh yeah,
I
for
have
sure.
a bold prediction for
I
Leclerc.
think he'll win Monaco. I'll even go that far.
That was my fucking prediction,
Sorry.
Chris.
Okay, well, that could be your first prediction. The transition. Good transition.
We're saving that one.
My
All right.
bad. All right.
That was my bold
Yeah.
prediction. I think Leclerc is gonna win at Monaco this year.
Home Grand Prix?
Yeah, his
Wow.
home Grand Prix. I think that's the one he's
Last
gonna
year
take
he
away.
crashed out.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, to be fair, his
But now
brakes
he's got a
failed.
better car, and I
'Cause
think Monaco's what, like not halfway through the season, but like just before
It's
halfway
just
through the
Canada
season.
at 6.
Yeah. So that's mine. My bold prediction in relation to your Vettel and Ferrari is I think Max is going to be the number one contender this year. Not Hamilton, not...
But do you think he'll win the championship?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Whoa, Matt.
I'm
Say it louder for the Dutch fans.
I'm all
Subscribe.
all hands on deck.
Say it louder for the Dutch fans.
I mean, I always
You
liked
haven't
him as
used
a
it in a
driver.
sentence yet.
I think Max is going to run away with the title this year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my
Pretty
bold
bold.
prediction.
That was very bold.
Very
Run away.
bold.
The fact you said run away.
Run away. Only because I really liked him as a driver. I like Ricciardo as a driver. Getting into F1 last year, and halfway through the season, like I completely changed my point of view. I think towards the end of the season, I saw how great of a driver Max can actually be. And I think after this year, with the power unit change, driver change, lineup change, I think we're going to see a much matured and better version of Max this year in terms of a driver. And he already has, he's already feared by a lot of the drivers on the grid, not because he was reckless. So I think he's going to clean that up, and that's why I'm saying he's going to run away with it. And my third prediction is I think Racing Point's going to be a surprise team this year. I know I didn't kind of agree with you guys earlier, but that's because I was trying to hide my prediction.
Bold, good move.
But yeah, I think Racing Point is going to be one of those teams that is going to surprise a lot of the older teams that are in there in terms of the midfield pack. I really think they're going to do a good job in terms of handling their drivers and making that push for number 4. So yeah.
All right. Well, one of mine was going to be Charles Leclerc winning in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Well, now it just seems boring because of what you guys said, so I'm going to scrap that. And I will say that the title, the Drivers' Championship, maybe not the Constructors, but the Drivers' Championship will come down to Abu Dhabi. And it will be decided in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
We could have like a goal. Is that clock? We have another one of those situations. Like, is that Kubica? But I think it will come down to Abu Dhabi. I think it's going to be the tightest year we've seen since, I don't know, when was the last year we had 2 other teams going for it?
Probably 7 years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So like a long time. And I think it's going to have F1 at its highest peak in the 2010 era. You know what I mean? The 10s era.
Yeah. Okay, that's one.
So that's 1. 2 is Kimi Räikkönen will get a podium this year.
Yeah,
You said
no.
multiple. But mine is he will get one this year.
I thought you guys were both gonna say it. That's why I didn't put that in my bold predictions.
Fair. I didn't think he was gonna say multiple. I thought I'd be the only one.
No, I figured you guys both.
I need to go bold. Yeah.
I figured you guys would both
bold.
have Kimmy in your bold predictions, so I'm like, I'm gonna try and go with something else.
So yeah, that's my second one, and my boldest prediction is that we will have 4 teams that will win a race in 2019.
Like first place.
So Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Racing Point will get their first win in their team's history.
So all of ours are pretty similar. They all relate to each other in some way.
Yeah.
For our
But they're
predictions.
pretty bold.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
I am saying I will say 4 teams win a race this year. My extra bold prediction is that it will be Racing Point, but I do think 4 different teams will win.
Okay. I see it behind that.
I hope so. Those are some really solid predictions.
Thank you.
21 races from now will be interesting to see. Well, maybe even halfway through.
I know.
It'll be
We're
interesting
like,
to see. Alex Albon, 3 podiums so far.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, but it'll be fun to see which ones come true. I think if any one of those come true, I'll be pretty excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, a lot of really great stuff to look forward to in 2019, and
let us know what your bold predictions are as well down in the comments below. We want to hear what you guys think is going to be the biggest surprises this year, the biggest, the craziest thing.
I think Charles Leclerc is going to be the big come up this year, isn't he? That's kind of all of our bold
yeah, it's
predictions.
pretty similar.
No,
across.
I never said that.
Well, you said you were going to though.
That he's going to be a come up or he isn't?
No, that he's gonna win.
Oh yeah, I think.
I think everybody.
Okay.
I think all of the fans out there, pretty
Okay.
much the same.
Okay, should be interesting.
Yeah, but leave your bold prediction in the comments, and we're on the path ourselves to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get there. Obviously, I don't know if by the time this video comes out if we were at 500 or not.
Yeah, we might be.
We're close. But hopefully we get to 1,000 by the end of the season. That's it's my goal. You're a little more bolder than me, but
for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll keep pushing throughout the season, and of course we got Australia coming up next, so we'll be doing our preview and our race recaps for the first race in Melbourne, which is 2 weeks away. So we're really looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to everybody.
Less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks. That's right. Yeah. We're looking forward to everybody joining us again for another season of the BackMarkers F1
season
show
2.
On YouTube. Gentlemen, anything else for 2019 season preview?
We'll see you in Aussie, mate.
Are we doing fantasy again?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We'll have to get that set up, folks.
Yeah, we'll get that set up in our Australia. That's a good point. That kind of slid through the woodwork, didn't it?
We'll get that done before the first.
That will be a Twitter. Instagram
we'll have everything
kind
on
of
it. Yeah, and we'll mention it in our Australia video, but stay tuned on our Twitter and Instagram for our fantasy season next year.
TBMF1 show on Instagram and Twitter. Yep. So like Tyler mentioned, we post a lot of our updates there.
And last year the winner got a Kimi Räikkönen hat, I believe is what it was, right?
Yes, and
she did receive
mug.
it. Yes.
I
remember.
Mug.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so congratulations.
We don't
sweet prize.
We don't lie about our prizes.
No.
Just so you guys.
We'll come up with some. Maybe we'll get these mugs going out this year too.
Yeah, they're very nice.
So we'll do that for sure. All right, guys, it's been a fun one for this one. We'll be back in a little while with the Australian Grand Prix preview. Thanks, everybody, again, for all your support. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in Australia, mate.